Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land within the Shire of Chittering, the Ewart and the Whadjuk peoples. We would like to pay respect to the elders of the Noongar Nation, past and present, who have walked and cared for the land. We acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contributions made to this region. I declare the meeting open at 7:01 p.m. And as per Council Resolution 1304/23, this meeting is being live streamed. Item 2, record of attendance, apologies, approved leave of absence. I'll start with apologies first. We have Mr Jake Whistler, Executive Manager of Development Services, and we have approved leave of absence from Mr Mark Campbell. Otherwise, we have Council present, and we have tonight Mr Hugo DeVos filling in for Mr Jake Whistler as acting, in his capacity of Acting Executive Manager of Development Services. So welcome, Hugo. Attendances. Councillors are to advise their attendance in their role as elected member. Are there any additional items on the list? For me, there's one. The 9th of July, the SAT hearing.
No.
Councillor Curtis, yep.
Where you well with? And
Oh, there's another one.
museum meeting, monthly meeting.
And where you well is for me too, please.
We made the announcement of where he was. Under
Is that last month or this month?
announcements. Was that last week? No. I'll make something up as we go along. All right, thank you very much. Item 3, disclosures of interest. Councillors, are there any potential conflicts of interest in any matter before council this evening? No conflicts of interest, thank you. Item 4, public question time. Response to previous public questions taken on notice, there are nil. And public question time, there is nil public, so there is nil public questions. Item 5, presentations, petitions and deputations, there are nil. Item 6, applications for leave of absence. Councillors, are there any applications, any application for leave? No application for leave. Item 7, confirmation of minutes of Ordinary Council meeting 18th of June 2025. Councillors, I have an officer's recommendation to that effect. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Hughes. Why am I not seeing things? Because Councillor Hughes has struck out again on my list. Don't worry, it's okay. The list is wrong. Seconder, please. Councillor Ross. Very good. Councillor Hughes?
Nothing to add other than the minutes appear to be a true account of the meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Councillor Ross? Councillors, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Right of reply not required. Councillor Hughes? Right of reply is not required, and no one speaking against the officer's recommendation. I'll declare carried without dissent 6-0. Announcements from item 8, announcements from the presiding member. First one, I just want to thank the staff for their excellent planning for Where Your Well is. It was, in my view, very well attended, and you could see the amount of effort that gone into the planning to make it such a successful event. I'm not sure of the exact numbers. It was over 1,000 or so participants, but we'll get that feedback in due time. But again, thank you very much, and I think it was a raving success. So we look forward to receiving the analysis of the attendances. So thank you very much. Second item is that the Shire is working to improve local access to Centrelink services by facilitating in-person appointments in Bindoon and Mouchet. We will soon be offering regular face-to-face services to help residents access Centrelink support without the need to travel long distances. So stay tuned for details and that will be confirmed. We're also planning to offer workshops and information sessions on budgeting and financial assistance, aged care services and entitlements, family tax benefits and other government support programs. This initiative supports Council's commitment to increasing access to essential services for our community. More information will be shared as details are finalised. Item 9, reports. I would like to ask Councillor Angus to give us a verbal briefing on her attendance at the Olga conference in June. Councillor Angus.
Thank you. I recently attended, together with the CEO, the National General Assembly in Canberra. There were over 1,300 delegates attending from all over Australia, and opportunities to network with them confirmed we almost all share similar issues. The second and third days of the conference were spent at the ALGA annual general meeting, where we debated and voted on over 200 motions over the 2-day period, which ALGA would then take on to the federal government. Many of those motions focused on issues common to almost all of us, including funding, housing availability, road and transport issues. Also included were issues of waste management and infrastructure development and maintenance. Some of the guest speakers, the more inspirational ones attending the conference, were Stephen Shearer, who worked with Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook fame. He gave a captivating talk about AI and its future in our lives, including the development of Omniscient, using AI to decode the human brain after brain injury. There was also Jason Clark, who has developed courses and taught in logic, problem solving and innovation. He's now a freelance thinker for hire, offering creative and lateral thinking services for organisations struggling to embrace innovation and change. There was also a speech by the Governor-General, Her Excellency the Honourable Miss Sam Mostyn, AC, whose presence was calm and peaceful yet very powerful. We had the pleasure of dinner one evening with 14 delegates from our neighbouring shires, which was another opportunity for networking. All in all, the week was an interesting adventure, which we can only hope will improve our lot for all the smaller councils as we keep fighting for our share of the pie. Thank you to Councillor King for allowing me to attend to represent our shire, and for Melinda Prinsloo, the CEO, who held my hand and kept me out of trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. I wonder who was in more trouble. Anyway. All right, next item is development services. First item of business is DS01 0725. Bridle Trail Network Extension to Trial and Community Engagement. Councillors, you have an officer's recommendation. Excuse me. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Angus is the mover. Seconder, please. Councillor Ross, thank you. Councillor Angus.
Thank you. I think this is an important consideration to make. Although the 12-month trial period is due to finish shortly, we have not yet finished the community consultation to understand how it has gone. So it's important we keep it open while we do that consultation, rather than shut it down and then have to try and start it again. So yeah, I'm happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mr. President. May I just ask one clarification first? Just in point 2A, correspondence to all landowners, is that meaning those with properties adjacent to the trails?
That abuts the bridle trail.
Oh, sorry, my apology, I've misread it. Look, I agree with what Councillor Angus has said, that it makes sense to keep this going while the appraisal of its effectiveness and popularity is being undertaken, so I'm happy to support this process.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillors, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Anyone wish to speak for? Councillor Curtis.
Mr. President, can I make an amendment to,
Okay, sure.
um,
What do you want to read out your amendment first?
the amendment,
Yes, read.
the amendment,
Is,
to, have a survey of how many horses are in the Shire
okay, so let's
for
put-
this, in Lower Chittering, for this, bridle trail.
You might, perhaps an advice note, do you want to
Advice
put that down
note,
at the
yes.
bottom? Because it says in detail in point 3. So in point 3 says instruct the Chief Executive Officer to report back in detail. Maybe we can just put an advice note that in detail, if possible, the term in detail, if possible, can include, I guess, the number of horses, if it's possible.
Yeah, I suppose the reference group, I don't know who was on the reference group.
I think we just do that. Can we do? Sorry.
Mr. President, just an observation. It has struck me for some time that of all the animals that there might be in the Shire, the one that there is no registration of at all is horses. Like if you have sheep or cattle, there's the nil system, so you know who's where. If you've got a dog or a cat, we know about it. But a survey of numbers of horses is actually not going to be easy to do.
Well, I guess if we put it down as an advice note, that include, if possible,
Estimate,
an estimate of the number of horses.
Sure.
I think
Yeah.
that will probably
well,
satisfy Councillor Curtis.
well, I mean, it's not very good if we're going to spend all this money on a bridle trail if there's only 5 horses.
Yep, all right. So we don't have to move or second that, but it can be put that as an advice note, and if you're happy with that, Councillor Curtis, that can just go at the bottom.
Yes.
Councillor Hughes?
I'm just have a question really. Is there a way that we can put a register there that users of the trail can register their use so we can capture numbers? Similar to like if you're on the Big Lawn track and places like that, how there's a register to register when you're going onto those trails. Is there any way to capture numbers of people that are using them?
I think that they're very good points, but I guess they're things not necessarily directly related to this
I suppose it's-
motion at the moment, something which you can raise up later. In detail, it can be raised later.
If I could propose that this be included when we have the discussion, when the report comes
Yeah.
back to council and what council would see as the way forward.
I suppose it would be ideal to have a bit of an idea of usage at that discussion though.
Yes, so we will gather through the feedback as much information as we can for this report.
Yeah.
But then also if council wants to propose a register or something going forward as a standard way of logging people using the trail, then we can add that.
Might be useful for
You could count.
firefighters also to know if there's people out on the trail.
You could certainly employ counters or something like
I
that.
think Hugo has an answer.
Sorry, just with regards to the horse numbers, with the rural pursuit applications and hobby farm applications, that's one of the things that we would be specifying for that kind of information. So there is a way that we can track numbers through applications and so on, so we can try and get that information for you. But in terms of the actual use, we can certainly consider an appropriate way of gathering that information as well.
That's fine. At this point, the advice note just asks whether they can include the number of horses, if possible. So I think that serves your purpose, Councillor Curtis.
Yes, Mr. President.
Anything else to add?
No.
Okay, that's Councillor Curtis. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Angus, you're the mover.
Nothing to add, thank you.
Councillors, I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour of the officer's recommendation? Carried 6-0, thank you. Technical services, there are nil. Corporate services. CS01 0725, list of accounts paid for the period ending 30th June 2025. Councillors, I have an officer recommendation to receive the list of accounts. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation, please? Councillor Curtis, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Ross. Thank you. Councillor Curtis.
Yeah, I'll check the accounts. One there, I I think it's a bit too much. For the dashboard and the Northern Valley Times, I think that was quite a large item there. I think we could reduce that, say instead of having a whole page, have a half a page or a quarter a page. It's a bit too big an ad. I've seen it before, and I don't know if anyone reads it, but I think we could reduce it in half or something.
So,
Well, quite a lot of them ads there's a lot of money going to that Northern Valley Times for these adverts.
so I guess what I'm getting a sense from you, you're expressing concern of the cost of the Northern Valley News, which is fine. But other than expressing your concern with the cost,
Yeah.
what do you want to do about it? Do you just want to
Well,
express your concern
I
at this point?
just want to let everyone know that it's quite a lot of amount of money.
Okay. All right. So, thank you for raising that. I think perhaps possibly if you have further concerns, then we can discuss that matter at another date. Okay. Thank you, Councillor Curtis. Seconded, Councillor Ross.
Nothing particular that's well presented. It's very helpful information. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Councillor Curtis, right of reply?
Nothing more to add.
Councillors, if no one's speaking against the officer's recommendation, I'll declare carried without dissent 6-0. Thank you. The next item was CS 020725, monthly financial report for the period ending 30th June 2025. This one's been withdrawn. We then move on to Chief Executive Officer section. The first item of business is CEO 010725, Work, Health and Safety Statistic Report for June 2025. It's withdrawn it. There's an error. So can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? I'll move. Councillor King's the mover. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Angus. Thank you. Right, my turn to talk. I'm just querying this historical 2023 insurance claim. Only because it's historical, it's 2023, and yet now it appears in the report. I guess you don't need to answer it now, but it's just strange that a 2023 item appears unless the 2023 is not correct.
So sometimes these items take a very long time to resolve. So if you want the details, I would have to take it on notice, but the only thing I can think is we haven't got any recent outstanding resolves, and they take, maybe Scott would be able to.
It's a new claim seeking compensation for an incident that happened in 2000 and, what did it say,
23.
23. So we'll just go through the insurance processes.
But it's a claim from us on... Sorry, I'm just trying to find where I wrote it down. What was the claim for?
Can't really disclose that.
Okay, all right. Confidential item. All right. Okay, perhaps at a later date. Might want to. Just seemed a little strange. All right. The other thing was I note there was a good number of safety observations, so I think that was very good. But there was a high number of reports generally. The question is this reflecting emerging issues, or whether it's because people are now prepared to report, because which is a good thing, people prepared to report, but something to keep an eye on. So I guess generally I would encourage people reporting rather than meeting any quota. So I trust that the reporting reflects actual observations and reporting, not targeting quotas, which becomes very counterproductive. But thank you for this report. It's positive. Councillor Angus.
Yeah, only to agree that there was an increased number of near misses, incidents, damage report, etc. But pleasing to see that they've been identified and action taken to hopefully stop them happening again.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. Councillors, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Anyone wish to speak for? Thank you, Councillor Ryder. Reply is not required. Councillors, no one speaking against the officer's recommendation. I'll declare carried without dissent 6-0. Next item, business CEO 020725, delegation register annual review. Councillors, you have an officer's recommendation. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation, please? Councillor Ross, that's correct. Seconder, Councillor Angus. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is one of those very complex matters to address, and I see the CEO's face kind of smirking as I make that comment. But it's actually a really important document because any legislation itself will give a lot of guidance on who has authority to act under various circumstances, but as well as that, Council itself sets out delegations, and this is the register that captures everything. If we didn't have a document like this, people wouldn't know what authority they have to act, and it's critical that they do, that anyone who has any responsibility at all knows that they are authorised by this document to do whatever they're doing. And because it's a public document, it means the community can access it as well and see where the lines of authority sit. So, and of course, because legislation keeps changing over time, this needs updating over time, and so it's now been reviewed, it's been brought up to date again, and this will be an ongoing thing that it keeps coming back to us to keep it up to date. So I commend the CEO and her officers on the amount of, I suppose, nitpicking detail, for want of a more complimentary phrase, that goes with this, but it really is an important document, so I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Angus.
Thank you. Only to add that we have had plenty of time to read through this annual review of the delegations and also discuss them at workshop as well, so I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. Councillors, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Anyone wish to speak for?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a quick comment that thoroughly enjoyable process working through all that detail, and I think the outcome has been a terrific result for all of us.
Thank you, Councillor Dewar. I think. All right, anyone else? The only thing I'll add as the last speaker is just to, again, thank the CEO and the staff for their hard work and workshopping the delegations registered with Council. Well, I guess it's not one of those most enjoyable tasks for the staff to go through, a bit laborious, never also for Council. So, but thank you for your hard work. We do appreciate what you've done and accepting that it's obviously very important to keep it up to date. So thank you. Councillor Ross, you have right to reply.
Nothing further, thank you.
Councillors, I'll put the officer's recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 6-0, thank you. Next item of business, CEO 030725. Officer's recommendation that Council by absolute majority adopts the corporate business plan 25-26 to 28-29. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Corporate business plan? I'm happy to move it. I'll move it. Thank you. Councillor King is a mover. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Dewar. Thank you. So I guess, first of all, I want to again thank the staff and the CEO for developing a corporate business plan, 4-year corporate business plan. We appreciate the alignment with the strategic objectives and aspirations with the 10-year strategic community plan. I think that's a major alignment. it is particularly important. So thank you very much. Also note that it's got the annual implementation plan in there that captures the specific projects, improvement activities and core services deliverables to be delivered in the first year of the corporate business plan, and that is closely aligned to the annual budget. So I think the alignment with corporate business, the annual budget, the annual implementation plan is a very important part of this project, the plan, and it's been captured particularly well. What I do notice that in there that we have aspirational projects totaling $8.2 million over the next 10 years, and they are aspirational projects, and they are subject to grant and other funding support. So the overall timing will be a function of funding, support and need. So again, thank you for the staff and the CEO for producing what is a high quality corporate business plan. Councillor Dewar.
I'll just be brief. Just like to thank the staff for putting this pretty lengthy, detailed document together. It's a big job, and it's been really well done.
Thank you, Councillor Dewar. Councillors, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Anyone want to speak for? Okay. Right of reply not required. Councillors, if no one's speaking against the officer's recommendation, I'll declare carried without dissent 6-0. Next item of business is the workforce management plan. So CEO 040725 workforce management plan of 2025-26 to 2028-29. Councillors, we have an officer's recommendation to adopt the workforce management plan. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Ross. Seconder. Councillor Angus, I'm sure. Thank you. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a quite important document, and I commend the CEO and those who are responsible for putting it together for the thoroughness of it. It's a very informative document and quite important in, I guess, for reasons that are outlined within it. We're a small shire, we're a rural shire, we're a growing shire, so issues like recruitment and retention are really tricky. Good use of scarce resources. We can easily think of 1 million more jobs we could do with, but we don't have the resources to fund them. So this is, I think, a critical document to provide guidance to the CEO and officers on what the workforce for this shire needs to look like going in these next few years.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Angus.
Nothing really much to add other than one of our ongoing challenges is we've got a plan of what our workforce needs to look like, but it's finding the people, and that's always been a challenge. Thank you for the document.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone speaking against? Anyone wish to speak for? I'll speak last. So again, thanks to the staff and the CEO for developing the workforce management plan. As Councillor Ross and Councillor Angus mentioned, it is effectively the strategic roadmap that supports service delivery. That's aligned with the corporate business plan, so it is a particularly important. I guess it's there to ensure that future workforce changes are financially sustainable and resourced appropriately. So thank you very much for producing the workforce management plan, which is obviously making its way forward. So, councillors, Councillor Ross, do you have right of reply?
Not a great deal, Mr. President. I suppose just to highlight that this is one of that suite of documents, the whole integrated planning and reporting framework. It's a way of joining the dots, that everything in all of these plans and so on lines up, so that you've got a coherent approach to the administration of the shire.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillors, I'll put this item to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 6-0, thank you. Next item of business, CEO 050725, Bindon Primary School Community Bus. councillors, you have an officer's recommendation. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation, please? Councillor Angus is the mover. Second, Councillor Ross. Councillor Angus.
Thank you. I'm happy to support the officer recommendation. I'm aware that the request from the school was for there to be no charge, but I think to be fair to all of our ratepayers, there should be a charge of some sort, because they don't all have children going to the school, but happy that we should discount it for the education establishment.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. Councillor Ross.
Thanks, Mr President. In addition to what Councillor Angus has said, from the usage figures we have for this vehicle, it is underutilised, and so if there is a valid, reasonable request coming from a school in the Shire, I think it's excellent to have the bus busier than it is now.
Thanks, Councillor Ross. Councillors, anyone speaking against? Against. Councillor Curtis.
I think we should give it the bus for free, like we give it to all these other community groups. I mean, not everyone goes to the museum or the men's shed or the town hall, but, you know, they get it for free. So I can't see the difference. No, I think they should get it for free.
Thank you, Councillor Curtis. Okay.
I'd just ask a question. I don't think community groups do get it for free, do they?
No,
They
they
have
don't.
to pay a fee.
Who?
Or anyone hiring the bus, there's a discounted rate for community groups, but they don't get
Oh.
it for free.
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm quite certain the community
Yes,
groups have to pay a
They
fee.
do pay a fee.
It's a higher fee than what's there. This is a discounted fee for the school.
I'll check that later.
I can assure you that there is a fee. So, all right, anything else to add, Councillor Curtis?
No.
Okay, anyone?
Well, just a comment that this isn't the only school that we have in the Shire, and they have applied to get a community discount previously to use hall facilities, for example, but in that case we set them at an individual rate because they're not a community group as such.
Yeah,
This
but
is quite a fair way to approach this situation, because we have to be fair to our other users, and also we're not a charitable organisation. I feel like there should be a fee for it, because there is a significant running cost attached to the bus. So happy to support the recommendation to apply this fee.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Any other comments? Talk to the item. Again, I'll speak last. I support the officer's recommendation. I support the discounted fees, and I think it's important. And obviously, some of these discounted fees would equally apply to, say, Immaculate Heart if they were using them, so it gets applied equally. Also, you know, there is capacity within the bus to provide their service. It's not fully utilised, and it is good to see the potential for the bus being fully utilised. So I do support the officer's recommendation. Councillor Angus, you have right of reply.
Thank you. Yeah, just to point out that although the request did come from Bindoon Primary School, the officer recommendation does state that these fees be imposed for Chittering-based primary and secondary educational facilities. So it would apply to other schools in the area. And just in response to whether or not it should be free, there is wear and tear on the bus, depreciation, so it will come at some sort of cost. And the schools do get some government funding to assist in different areas of things they need, so I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. Councillors, no one else? Oh, it's a right of reply, sorry. Councillors, I'll put this to the vote. All those in favour? Against? 5-1. Carried. Next item of business is CEO 060725. Lot 123 on DP 87409 and Lot 801 on DP 418310, Edmonds Place. Management Responsibility Agreement. Councillors, you have an officer's recommendation. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? I'm happy to move. Seconder? Councillor Angus. All right, thank you very much. I'll speak to it as the mover. I support the transition of the management of the community bus, management of the community and senior housing to Rise Network. I think their presentation, I caught the end of, was compelling, and their experience that managing these facilities, and as council is going down the path of divesting itself from these facilities, and Rise Network will be managing them anyway, it makes good sense that there's a transition period where Rise Network take over the management of the community and senior housing sooner rather than later. So I support the officer's recommendation. Councillor Angus, you were the seconder.
Yep, thank you. I also was pleased to have the person from Rise Network here last week to speak to us and answer questions, and they seem very intent on discussing with the current tenants about where things go from here. And I think a big bonus for us is that it's going to remove the impose on our budget of maintenance costs to the Shire. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. Councillors, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Anyone wish to speak for? Thank you. Councillor Curtis, sorry.
Yeah, I agree with the officer's recommendation, but can I ask that the septic tanks are going to be still paid for inspection by us, or the new who are they, whoever's running the show anyway?
Rise.
Who?
The CEO?
Oh, Rise.
Right.
Yeah.
So once this management is handed over, the full suite of responsibilities will be handed over with it. So they will be dealing with that.
Nothing, we're not going to pay nothing. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Curtis. Councillors, anything else? As the mover, I don't require right of reply. Councillors, I'll put the officer's recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 6-0. Thank you. Next item of business is CEO 07-0725, Lower Chittering Youth and Community Hub Project Progression. Councillors, we have an officer's recommendation that received the community feedback, endorses the relocation of the building as described and attached, and notes the ongoing progression of the project in accordance of the 25-26 annual budget, and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to commence preliminary site investigations and statutory process. So that is the officer's recommendation. At a summarised level, can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Angus. Can I have a seconder for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Ross. Councillor Angus.
Thank you. I'm happy to see this recommendation and see things progress in Lower Chittering. Happy to receive the community feedback that was obtained. I did attend the session down there where community were invited, and although there weren't a large amount of people, they were quite passionate about something happening for them down there. And in the feedback obtained, I think the number was about 70% were in favour of seeing this progress, so I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think it's critical for the Lower Chittering community that this project keeps moving. I'm sure all of us wish there had been a higher response rate, both to the briefing meetings that was held and also to the survey that was distributed. The cynical side of me says that I think people in Lower Chittering have almost lost hope that anything will actually happen one day, because for 20 years now it's been an on-off initiative. So it's regrettable that it has panned out that way for feedback. Personally, I've always been convinced that there does need to be something there. When you have over 2,000 people in the locality, which we do now in Lower Chittering and have had for some time, we really need to do better than simply the hall that's there. And as an interim initiative, in the hope that one day we can attract grant funding for the full-scale community hall, I think this really needs to keep moving, so I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillors, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Anyone wish to speak for? I'm happy to speak last. I guess I welcome and receive the community feedback. I do express my disappointment for the few numbers of responses we actually received, and by my accounts there's 24 responses to the online survey, which has to get down to the very low end of all responses we've received on our surveys, in my view. But that's the numbers that were written on the side of the sheet. And then again, further to Councillor Angus's comment, the attendance at the drop-in information session was not was poorly attended, I guess. So it is a disappointing, considering it is a significant infrastructure project that will benefit the community. I would have liked to have seen greater participation in the online survey and the drop-in centre. I endorse the relocation of the proposed building. I think that makes sense. And I do note the ongoing progression of the ongoing progression of the project in accordance with the annual budget. And obviously I do authorise the Chief Executive Officer to get on with the site investigations, because we need those site investigations to be completed before a proper business case can be brought to Council. And then I think once we're presented with the proper business case, Council can make its decision on the project. So, but I overall support the officer's recommendation. Councillor Angus, you have right of reply.
I have nothing else to add, thank you.
Councillors, I'll put the officer's recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 6-0, thank you. Next item of business is CEO 08-0725, 2025 Walga Annual General Meeting Delegates. Councillors, we have an officer's recommendation that appoints Councillor Mary Angus as the voting delegate and appoints Councillor Carly Hughes as proxy delegate, and instructs the Chief Executive Officer to register the above named delegates and proxies with Walga. So that is the officer's recommendation. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? I'm happy to move since I'm not nominated for anything, so I'll move it. How's that? Can I have a second? Sorry, Councillor Ross. Just want to thank Councillor Angus for nominating herself as the delegate, and Councillor Hughes, so thank you for that. Nothing further from me. Councillor Ross. Councillors, anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Councillors, I write a reply, but it's not required. No one speaking against the officer's recommendation. You want to speak?
I'm speaking for.
For. Okay. Councillor Dewar.
Yeah, look, this is the premier local government event in the state, and it's absolutely vital we have some strong representation. I prefer to see the Shire President there, but he can't make it. So we've got some good candidates here, but it's definitely something that we should have some strong representation at.
Thank you, Councillor Dewar. As the mover, I write a reply, which I don't have a right of reply. So councillors, I'll put the officer's recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 6-0. Next item of business is CEO 09-0725, rejoining the Avon Regional Organisation of Councils. You have an officer's recommendation that endorses rejoining the Avon Regional Organisation of Council and appoints the delegates, and the delegate will be Councillor King, myself, and the proxy, Councillor Mary Angus, and then authorises the Chief Executive Officer to formally notify AROC and undertake all necessary actions to finalise membership. Councillor, that is your officer's recommendation. Can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Ross. Seconder, Councillor Angus, thank you. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm delighted to see this come to us and delighted that we are going to rejoin AROC. I thought it was a very poor decision of Council at the time to withdraw. I think it's critical. Local government is a complex thing on any day of the week. Having a group of neighbouring councils, the Avon region, working together on things that are common interests, I think is just a great benefit to us. I'm absolutely delighted that we're looking at going back into it.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Angus.
Thank you. I attended, along with the CEO, the last AROC meeting as we went as guests, and the discussions around the table I felt also were very appropriate for us to be involved in as well, and it can only be of benefit. There's power in numbers, and if we can put some of our issues forward along with neighbouring shires, I think that's only a good thing. Happy to support it.
Thank you, Councillor Angus. Councillor, is anyone speaking against? Anyone wish to speak for?
I'll speak. Yeah, I support the motion, but can Councillor Ross tell me why we left it originally?
Maybe the Chief Executive Officer can answer that for you.
Sorry?
Maybe perhaps the CEO can answer that for you.
Okay, yeah.
Is at the time the Northern Growth Alliance was formed, and the Shire, the decision was made to align only with that and leave the AROC in favour of the Northern Growth Alliance. So there should be no reason for us to not be part of both those two. They've got distinctly different areas of focus. So at the time they withdrew to form only an alliance with the Northern Growth Alliance of Gingin and Dandaragan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Curtis. Councillor Ross, right?
Look, I think I may be mistaken, but my understanding too is that the regional organisations of councils are in the Local Government Act. I think they're an authorised, like they're an acknowledged way of local councils organising themselves. I may stand corrected, but I'm sure they have an official status somewhere.
Yep. Thank you, Councillor Ross. Anything else to add, Councillor Ross? Councillors,
Sorry, I
Councillor
have
Hughes.
a question.
Yes.
The $5,000 fee, we have a very tight budget that we've just accepted last month. How can that be accommodated in the budget? What would have to forego?
So in our operational budget we have got a section for fees and charges for subscriptions.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have to see if there's one of the training courses or something that we would have to forego in favour of this.
So we don't need a financial implication decision? Or
No, I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Ross, you have right to reply. Councillors, I'll put the officer's recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 6-0, thank you. Item 10, reports of committees. The first item is COM 01-0725, Chittering Tourism Advisory Group May Minute Meeting. May meeting minutes. Councillors, you have an officer's recommendation to receive the unconfirmed minutes and also to consider the resolution made by CTAG and instruct the Chief Executive Officer to facilitate the review with Council and prepare an updated terms of reference for adoption by Council. Councillors, can I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Councillor Ross. A seconder for the officer's recommendation? I'm happy to second. Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mr. President. I imagine normally it would have been Councillor Campbell who moved this one because he chairs this committee, but obviously can't be here this evening. This was the first meeting for some time of this advisory group and was a very productive meeting. I think it turned out to be a valuable opportunity for the new relatively new economic development officer to hear firsthand from people with industry experience about the issues of the Shire. As you'll see in the officer recommendation, we were very conscious on that committee that the terms of reference need redeveloping, so that's why this has come through the minutes and into the recommendation this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. As a seconder, I'll speak to it. So I'm happy to receive the unconfirmed minutes. There's some takeaways I took out of the report. I guess I wanted to summarise those. The takeaways I took is that the transit parking bookings, the visitor centre engagement, and the amazing picnic bookings have increased compared to the same time last year, so I think that's a very good sign. Also, the visitation at the Brockman Centre has increased, and that was thought due to be Springfest. And there was a mention there of Little League and camping appears to be going well. So all of the positive signs, despite WA tourism being down sort of 9% across the state. So I think that's very positive for our area. I do note that illegal camping and homelessness remains an ongoing issue, and that there's a recommendation for some welfare support information to be developed. So I do endorse that. And then there's some other actions, the water fountain at the Brockman Centre for walkers. So that was raised in those minutes as well. So I don't know where those actions sit, but I'll just leave it to the CEO to advise another time where those actions reside. Do they have to come to council?
No, I just want to check with Leo. I was under the impression we have already installed that water fountain at Brockman Centre. I will confirm. I will get back to them.
Yeah. So anyway, they're just my takeaways from reading the report, other than the terms of reference. But I think there are some very positive signs, despite some very difficult tourism conditions in WA. So we're doing something right. That was my time. Seconder. Anyone speaking against the officer's recommendation? Against or for?
Against.
Okay. Councillor Curtis.
Look, I think this tourist advisory group, I mean, they're all the business council, Chittering Business Council. They're not tourist association. They're not tourist advisory group. It's a business advisory group. So I don't know what, I think we should just dissolve the whole lot. And I mean, if they want to consult us or advise us, why don't they come and advise us? Why do they have to have all this advisory group when they don't? I don't know. I think we should just dissolve the whole lot.
So
myself,
just to provide some clarity for you, Councillor Curtis, the second part of this instructs the Chief Executive Officer to facilitate a review with Council and prepare updated terms of reference for adoption by Council. That's where the points you raise would be discussed around the terms of reference of what the group would or wouldn't do. So that's a future discussion with Council, and then obviously resolution.
These groups want to, advise Council, come Council meeting.
Okay. Again, you can, when it's time to review those terms of reference, you can make those points and help develop the terms of reference for the group. Anything else, Councillor Curtis?
Nothing, thanks.
Anyone speaking for? Anyone speaking against? Councillor Ross, you have right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. President. This group has its next meeting next week, and if this item proceeds through tonight, I would imagine some time will be spent on the terms of reference and on who should be members, so that the committee might be able to recommend something to Council in that direction for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Okay, councillors, I'll put the officer's recommendation to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 6-0. Item 11, motions of which previous notice has been given are nil. Item 12, questions from members without notice. Are there any questions from members? Councillor Curtis, your question.
I asked a question last week about the LK Martin sign. I got a response, and that's fair. But how can we replace that sign, put that sign back where it was officially without maybe not having a street? We can't have it a street. It's not a street, I believe. But can council decide to put that sign back where it was? Because I think it's a bit of local history, the Martins and that.
See, with council's permission, I would like to investigate a different way of honouring Mr. Martin, because at the moment we do not have a policy that allows us to put names on buildings, and because it's not a street, we can't put it back as a street sign. So if we look at the rock that was placed in the garden next to it, as also a little tribute, we could perhaps consider a different way of bringing on an acknowledgement in the same area but not against the building.
Yeah, we could have it on a signpost or something like that,
Yeah.
but not on the building. Yeah.
So I'm happy to investigate that.
Because it could be called LK Martin Square, couldn't it? That's not a street.
You not according to the current naming,
Yeah?
not according to the current naming policies now.
So I
What
guess
about-
the CEO will come back to you on what we can and can't do with the suggestion.
Yes.
Any other questions, Councillor Curtis?
No, that's it.
Councillors, any other questions? No further questions. I'll move on to item 13, a new business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of the meeting. There are nil. Item 14, meeting closed to the public. Councillors, we have a procedural motion that council moves into confidential session to discuss the following item. CON 01-0625, compliance consideration for unauthorised vegetation clearing and works under the terms of Local Government Act 1905. Can I have a mover that council goes into confidential session? Councillor Angus, I'm sorry, it's the mover. Seconder, please. Councillor Ross, thank you. Councillors, anyone speaking against the procedural motion? No one speaking against the procedural motion. I'll declare carried without dissent 6-0, and we'll move into I have to read the motion. Oh, it's on the back, sorry. Missed a page. My apologies. Okay, in relation to item CON010725, compliance consideration for unauthorised vegetation clearing and works. The following motion was carried 5-1, and it reads that Council notes the legal advice received from McLeod's barristers and solicitors regarding unauthorised clearing and development works undertaken on Lot 201, Lot 99, Pollinelli Road, Lower Chittering, and 2, instructs the CEO to report back after the State Administrative Tribunal process has been completed on whether any further punitive action should be considered based on the recommendations contained in the legal opinion. That is the reading of the public reading of the resolution. Item 15, closure. I declare the meeting closed at 8:07.